So we're talking about a paradigm change away from post-World War II conventional size automobiles and trucks and supersized highways and cities laid out around streets, not people. And so many of the issues that we face today, from carbon emissions to racial inequities to the cost of living, the homelessness that we're experiencing in cities everywhere, and that is on the rise, the lack of affordability, the disconnect between what people are paid and what it really costs to live a decent life. And so much of this goes to that design. Now, I have been told point blank by transportation professionals, Susan, you cannot change the geometry of transportation. Of course you can. That's what we're doing right now. That's what Peachtree City is doing. That's what all forward-looking cities are willing to look to consider. Think about paradigm changes that we've experienced before. Telephones were out there for 100 years, and yet half the world had never spoken on a phone until wireless telecommunications came along, and we realized we didn't need to extend wires and poles to outer Mongolia or anywhere. Wireless made it possible for a sheep herder around the world to have in his hands a phone the size of a deck of cards that can do amazing things. So that upended telecommunications. And think too about what happened in computers. Once Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak showed the world what was possible with a computer that really was about people and could be managed and driven and operated by the actual user, and not be a mainframe halfway across the country, people began to realize what that potential was. And in the same way, we're about to discover the potential for micromobility. Now, the secret to this mobility opportunity is the protected network, the protected infrastructure. We believe that micromobility can never achieve its potential to help improve lives, to help people across the economic spectrum have access to job opportunities and access to quality of life. And it will never be able to eliminate carbon emissions on a scale that will make a difference unless we know that these vehicles are safe and protected and parents feel safe putting their kids out there on them and safe themselves. So we have, with this concept, two pieces. We have the network, the infrastructure, and the vehicles. And you put them together and you get low emission alternative network mobility. And that is what is possible for your city. You're a mayor, so you have to do it all. You're the therapist for your city. You're the magician, the sheriff, the entertainer, the CEO, the visionary. And you're going to be called on for all of those roles if you want to lead this movement in your city or help lead this movement in your city. Movements happen because of a vision. And over these 6 weeks, you will develop a vision of how this can work for your city. You will be able to take it to the people, hear what they have to say, learn that the better part of talking is actually listening to what people think and what their ideas are. They will have all kinds of ideas, and many of them will be very, very good. Everybody's an expert on mobility when you think about it. We're either experiencing it or experiencing its problems. It's not just transportation engineers. In fact, some of the very best ideas will come from the outside. There are many ways that people will be able to help and jump in. One will be that they can help talk property owners into granting rights of way so that you have room for off-road paths. We have to be very, very scrappy and smart about how we spend money to create this. You might be able to convene a church meeting where people can hear about this and see an NEV in person and get to drive it around. There's nothing like being able to experience it. I have a friend who does an experiment where she takes half of a class and gives them paper and tells them to make a paper airplane, each of them. And the other half, she tells to think about how a paper airplane works, but not to make one. And when she convenes the two groups, clearly, as you would expect, the group that has made them and tried, and they haven't flown and then one did and have had this experience, they become the experts. In the same way, we cannot expect people to jump on micromobility and to see its potential if they haven't experienced it. If all they've experienced is a scooter, well, that's something. A dockless scooter is great for them to experience. But what we really want for them to experience is how this can, for many people, replace at a very low price the experience of taking a car for trips within the city, trips that aren't too far, trips to destinations they go to all the time, whether it's a community college campus or the grocery store, and to incorporate this in their lives. When you talk to Lincoln, California folks, you realize this has become part of their city. It's part of their values. It's part of their ethos. It's part of the culture of that city. And it can be the same in yours as it is in Peachtree Cities, as it is in Bay Harbor, Michigan, as it's coming to be in another former community for the formerly homeless that we've worked with. There are such exciting things happening, and they are contagious in the best of ways. So what we will do is spend these weeks helping to arm you, walk you through this, give you tools that you can introduce in your city, help put together a team that will help execute this in your city. Thank you, and I will see you in Module 2.